afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It's Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Good afternoon, traders. What an explosive day today. This market is crazy. I want to heed warning. I'm sitting on the sideline. There's a lot smaller chance now that I think the market is going down into Friday. It still could. Into next week, it still could. And I'll show you all of these situations coming up ahead. I did a video earlier and I had to scratch that video from this move here. And I'll show you exactly what I'm looking for. So make sure you stick around, and we're doing this intraday about 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So consider becoming a YouTube member if you want to get these intraday and you want to know what the heck is happening. And then these come out at 4 p.m. to the public anyway. So it's just a way to help support the channel. And I appreciate all of you and all of your great support here. So let's jump into it, you guys. This is our daily analysis. We're going to go through SPX and then the other indices all through the daily time frame. We're only going to do the indicators on the SPX, and then we'll do the same thing on the 65-minute, which would be equivalent to the hour candles if you're using the hourly. I just do these so the candles are even throughout the trading day. Very well. We have SPX on the daily time frame. So just from a traditional stance, from patterns analysis, we have a wedge here. We still have a downtrend. We're still technically in a downtrend. We are past, price exceeded the range where I was considering a wave 4 to be negated. Now I think probability wise, we're going to make some sort of higher low coming into this move, however that works out. So earlier today, probability was that if we stuck underneath, I'll just roughly say in SPX 5,200, that we had a chance to go lower and the probability was lower. Now that is changing. And it's changing rapidly. So if we get a big wick here by the end of the day, by close, I think nothing really happened. Okay. We're back under 5,200 at the close. Nothing really happened. And that was just a volatile wick. So keep an eye on that. And for now, with a close above, we're looking for some sort of consolidation or a higher low. It could come all the way back with the things are going, come all the way back to make a higher low back at 4,900, but we're getting out of that range. Okay. So let's look at, and if we do end up going lower, I still have the targets down here at 4,700 range. Okay, looking at the moving averages, super important because that's what we're fighting is the momentum. Momentum is changing, but we gotta see this 8 EMA get above it and show the 8 EMA curl up. Again, the 20 moving average is the trend indicator. It's way up here. What I was describing in earlier's video is that we may play some sideways action because of some cycle lows that are coming in on a daily and weekly, which is further out. And so there's still some challenges on the upside, but this could be sideways massive chops until a breach lower. So in order to get bullish, we're going to want to see a couple things change. That's getting over the 8 EMA, getting above the downtrend lines. And then when we get to the Elliott wave count, I'll show you a couple things that may be happening right now. McClellan oscillator, way oversold, is getting right back to the just to the oversold territory, so this could be an issue. We could start to see some higher lows getting back. So let's watch the market breadth and see if we can get stronger in this move. Right now, still in the oversold in bear territory. So here's the indicators. I was really wanting to see, at least on the 65 minute, some bullish divergence. We don't have that yet. We don't have a crossover. So let's keep an eye. We have a downtrend line with the RSI. Let's see if we can get some sort of follow through. Maybe the follow through is between today and tomorrow or the rest of the week. We get to the 20 moving average and then we start to get our descent for a higher low. Okay. Again, no bullish divergence here. We got a buy signal on the slow stoke. So the headwinds in the very near term are to the upside. We'll see if we get follow through with that. So again, it's really having a hard time with this 8 EMA. We'll see what goes on. And when I talk about positive market structure, is this what we're trying to start here? Is this positive structure? A 1-2? Can we get a 1-2 and start our either lower high or higher high? Or is this just going to be a complete rip your face off rally? It's already been a rip your face off rally, but I just mean a relentless one to where you hardly get any pullbacks in the consolidation. And I'm not talking about necessarily making the all-time highs. I'm just showing you an example of relentless moves and no pullbacks. All right. DMARC. Insane moves. There's nothing to see here. Have an 11 count so far. Nothing to see here. Awesome oscillator. It's not moving yet. We'll see on the close. We'll see what happens. Nothing to report. Let's go to SPY. Okay, SPY with the money flow index. We have the positive divergence. That's the only indicator that is giving us a positive divergence is the low in. This one could say yes. Do I think the low is in? I'm in a neutral stance. It's hard to tell at this point, but I do think probability starts to point. We're still in a downtrend, but I think the probability starts to some strength and maybe getting a higher low here. We'll have to see. Tough market, you guys. So we had the volume shelf that we came to right about here, protected that that low volume node, so didn't make it quite to there. What I was looking for is maybe this 470 volume shelf to get to, and not out of the question, but not necessarily going to happen here. Be careful trading out there. At least if you're long, add some protection. These swings are just massive. What else can we show? Elliott oscillator, in deep territory, but didn't give us any sign of positive divergence that we're going from a wave 3 to 4. So what that does, let's go ahead and change boards here. What that does for this move, it really brings us back to question, is this A complete? Now, you can count this as an A, B, C. That's what we were doing before. And we took them off over here to give another room for lower prices. And that ABC could lead us to a lower high into a B wave. Now, from the looks of it, just such a huge move. It's, wiping out so much of this trade here. Can this be an A, B, and C lower? Quite possibly. It's happening really fast. So timing wise, maybe we're looking for this B to end and we get new lows for a C wave into, I think we're looking at June, around June, into May, June at this point. So at this point, once again, it's giving us the probability. I'll just move these aside for here and here, giving us the probability that this is an A, B, C. I know you could argue, there's a 1, 2, and then 3, and a little 4 and 5 in there. In a crash-like event, it's very hard to count things that are inside there. But this is what seems more likely as of this point. All right, we'll see what happens here. And then this is the, well, first of all, time and price is coming in. Not today, but as of this weekend, going through the Thursday through, I want to say Tuesday. So we'll keep an eye on time and price. We don't have it yet for the time and price relationship, so there's no setup there. Now this easily, I moved it in earlier's video, or the earlier video that I deleted. But if we put all of these lows in here with the wick, with the bodies, and then we could have been at a low already. And again, this is that situation where we have an A, B, C, and that could have been a wave 4, and we can easily make a new wave 5 high. So this one is looking really good at this point with such a massive move today. It just, if we don't break this low here, now I'm going to leave this line here. If we don't break this low, but we make a higher low on it, there can be some very steep higher lows. And this holds, then this is fair game, you guys. It looks like a 3-wave move. We could get a lower high, but you can't take this scenario out of question. This is an expanding, ending diagonal scenario. All right, and this next move should be a 3-wave move to the upside if you're a bull. If this would have continued lower, which it still could, but the probability is starting to drop, if this were to head lower, it would have been hard to argue this. And we would have had such a deep retracement that, it just was getting more and more likely that we'd just easily get a lower high and then see the market head lower after that. All right. Let's move over to the Qs. Then we'll just look at these quickly just to see, we're still in a downtrend. Fighting over that 8 EMA. It looks like the bigger test will be the 20. And then if things get bullish, don't forget we have the 20-week moving averages up by these. I have a box on all the indices. Well, on SPY and QQQ, I have the boxes up here. And those were our original targets. With moves like this, just insane. I think the market, they might have breakers. Yeah, I think they have breakers on the upside. I think it warned us earlier. 7%, 13%, something like that. I know they do on the downside for sure. You don't get these too many opportunities on the upside. SMH a 13% move. My God. So it's getting back into that territory. This is clearly holding above the 8 EMA. We'll see where this goes. Now, technically, we do have a higher low in there. We'll just have to see on the lower time frames. There's not much you can see on the daily at this point. IWM coming back into the channel. We'll see where we close, and then fighting with the wedge here, also that 8 EMA. The diamonds, DIA. There's that old channel coming up to it. And maybe we get a pause here. So we'll see what happens after this large move. Do we just get continuation? Or do we get a larger move, maybe a higher low? All right. So this looks, we're back at support here. This 35 area with the 8 EMA. Let's see how this goes. If we can gain traction on the VIX, then if the VIX makes a new high, my gosh, then everything else is probably going to make a new low as well. So again, big smash there. We'll check out MJ. I did all of this earlier. It's so funny. Let's while we're on the daily time frame, let's take a quick look at BTC starting its move, and I bet you overnight this thing is just gonna really take off here. So 7%. I wouldn't doubt if we saw anywhere from 10 to, who knows, a 15-20% move in BTC. We'll see. It might just happen day by day relentlessly. It doesn't have to happen in big chunks like that. And then MJ. So there's MJ getting a lift here. Clearly still in a downtrend, but held on to this falling channel here. Let's see if it can regain some of these higher time frame setups here. Maybe just a throw, maybe just throw over, and then it starts moving. Okay, SPY, let's go on the 65. All right, let's dig in here from a traditional look. We just closed this gap. We had that island gap, closed both of them. Now, from the first point of view, ABC, maybe. Just there's no rule against this being still some sort of bear flag. And that's what I was describing. If we stay underneath the 382, then it's still probable that we had more downside. Now, that's not the case with this. We're clearly past the 382, and we'll look at that in just a second. So in a traditional look, okay, you have a bear flag here. Fine and dandy. This is probably not a good place to go long. So you do have a higher low. And now if we continue with some sort of another higher low, all we're doing is breaking this wedge that formed here, got tight in price action, broke out from the wedge, shorts are covering, and we'll see if this bear flag holds to the upside or breaks down. It's just a huge flag here. So again, we'll check out our game plan on there. Now that our game plan is shifted, we can start to look in the positive direction. So you see the moving averages. We're against the 50 moving average on the 65. Here we go. We're in the oversold territory or overbought territory with RSI. We're starting to get momentum to the upside on the 65. No positive divergence. We had one little positive divergence in the low there. Doesn't mean that we can't be positive now. It doesn't have to get divergences. And again, no positive divergence. We have the tailwind heading higher. And we talked about that in the last video. But you guys won't get to see that. And so I'm glad to do a new video, though. It doesn't matter. So let's go over to this board. So we did get we have time, price, and timing starting today into tomorrow. Actually, I was talking about this being the whole weekend here. So we clearly got a low here. I'm going to take that off. We'll see how we close. And now, here was our bull bear line. We were talking about the top of wave 2 to the bottom of potentially wave 3. This should not be breached for a typical wave 4. Now, I know that we're in extraordinary situations. All right, we're past the 50%. there's other things that could happen here. So since we're in a downtrend, we can pay attention to this 540. Okay, we're going to pay attention to this 540 line here, but we have to change our structure. All right, let's get that out of the way. So, is this an A, B, and then C? All right, with this 5-wave move down, what does that complete? Is this a C wave? And then we go to a bigger B and lower, or even just a corrective ABC to all-time highs? Those are two huge questions. And then the bearish scenario, very important. This is what I ignored when we had this little bear flag right here. The bearish scenario is that this 5-wave turns into an extension. Okay? What does that mean? Let me clear. So one of our scenarios is an A being complete, and then B for a higher low. A bearish, really, really bearish scenario would be that we just had a wave 1, this 5-wave move. So we're still in the C wave, in other words, that this C wasn't complete, this A into C wasn't complete, and that this 5-wave is going to turn into a bigger 5-wave. So that would mean we're into wave 2, probably complete into the 62%, almost there. And then you get a 3, 4, and 5 into much lower levels. Okay. Now that doesn't have to be expanding. It can be contracting. It could start to get like a wave 3 can be shorter than wave 1, but then wave 5 has to be shorter than wave 3. So it doesn't mean that it has to extend further in a much more crashy way. It just means it can just drop into 5 more waves down. So that would be a really, really bearish scenario, but we cannot take that off the table because we're fighting with that 8 EMA. But the 20-day moving average is heading lower, and we're not even there yet. So let's see what happens here. So far, this can just be an ABC into much lower prices. Now, you know, some people are going to say, well, wave 4s, they can be much bigger. There's no rule that says wave 4 can't be 50% retracement. It's just not a likely situation. It just changes probabilities. Trading is probabilities. So I can't rule out that all of this was still a 1, 2, 3, and then a deep 4, and then you get a 5-wave move down. But at the same time, it's, you know, it doesn't fit as well. So let's see if we can get a higher low at this point. Just really about this neutral point. Trend is down. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to say. So make sure you hit that bell notification. We do these videos each and every day, and so when the market gives us information, we have to try to interpret that. And this is on the fly, so it's really, really tough to give you really definite areas. But this 540 should not be taken out if this is a really bearish situation, whether it's super bearish or just another 5 waves down to complete with a positive divergence. Okay. All right. And then again, if that bear flag holds to the upside, maybe we're setting a 1, 2 1, 2, and nesting to go higher. All right, and so this could be, if this is corrective for a larger B wave, I'm giving you all sorts of scenarios. I know I'm going to get some haters that say, we're going to go up and we're going to go down. It's not me being right. It's about trying to find a good setup and trade into it. So if this is going to be a bigger retracement, you could have a higher low for a B, and it's the same thing if you're going to new highs. You're still looking for higher lows. So an A, a B, and then a 5-wave move up for C to complete the B wave. All right. I know a lot of jargon here. If you're new traders, just think of it as setting up higher lows and then eventually having an impulse wave up, whether you're a bull or looking for a bigger corrective B, because that's what changed today. Trend was much more bearish until we crossed over this 518. Now it's giving us some bullish light here. So you just can't be too bearish. We need more information. You can trade off of whatever you want to, but we just don't have a huge view of which way to go. Now, breadth, again, is getting stronger, and we'll continue to monitor what breadth is doing. And, this might be, I think, with in the past, a thrust. Maybe you see some people calling out a breadth thrust, and so that's a possibility too. So we have our old wedge here. Look at that old wedge. We're back testing that, and so again we have our downtrend line. This in itself, might reject price that we broke down from that setup, and we're back testing, and we head lower. So nothing says that we can't continue to do that into this falling, expanding wedge here. Is this an A, B, C into an A, B? There's also something to consider for the advanced traders when you're looking into these. If this was somehow an A, B, C into here, that could be a 1, 2, 3, and then we're getting a large 4. It could be an expanding leading diagonal. So I know a lot of scenarios there, but now that this happened today, it's causing a frenzy. Good for those who are in this move. All right, so held the channel here. I drew that earlier today in a channel downtrend, but looked at, you could count this as being complete as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5-wave move. And now we just need to correct for an ABC, a larger one, and then we get another fall after that. That's more of how SMH is shaped. But if we're looking for new highs, all right, that expanding ending diagonal that I showed on SPY, well, then all we did here was get an A, B, and C. Look at that. An A wave, huge B wave, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impulse to end this. So let's look out for SMH. Let's look out for the semis to break this downtrend line, and maybe it needs to go to new highs after this. IWM seems to be much weaker, and you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave move. So maybe we're looking for a new high in the semiconductors, and then we get a lower high in the small caps. This looks like a 5-wave move. It does not look like an expanded flat there, and we're still in the downtrend for the near term. We're fighting with the channel and the old wedge that broke down. So, we'll need tomorrow to still to figure things out. And even the weekly candles and such, we just need to figure out what those are telling us. The diamonds, just back testing that channel there, broke out from what I thought. I was watching this earlier and it looked like we could have went sideways to have a triangle and break down. That's not the case. Is it a bear flag? Well, it's extremely big one, but I guess not unheard of. It seems to be breaking out from there anyway. So this again can be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wave move complete. And we're looking for just a lower high. Now you can also argue that there's an A, B, and C in here too. But that's, where the 1, 2 would be up here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. VIX. Again, is at support from the 65-minute. Looks like it wants to close this island gap that's up here. Maybe it just back tests this channel. So let's see if we get the back test. If not, then something else could be happening. Starting to get a little bit of movement here. It looks like it wants to at least close a gap over here. We'll see if this bear flags for a little bit and falls there. Is this complete, or is this an A, B, C correction? And then the VIX goes higher. Well, there'd probably be another catalyst that just says, tariffs are back on, that was fake news or something like that. If that was the case where it went higher, it's like an expanded move here. Let me draw these trend lines so we can just kind of see if this is some sort of expanding consolidation. And we get new highs there. So let's just see what this pattern is doing on the VIX, and that should give us some insight on what's happening on the overall market. So if this trend line holds, then we could see some lower prices, meaning in SPY, in the market, you could see that lower high here and then break down more, and then the higher high in the market in SPY. But if this breaks out to new highs, then, obviously the market is probably falling apart back to the lows again. All right. So hope this helps. There's a lot of uncertainty in this move, and we will again update tomorrow, and hopefully you'll join us in the Discord where we talk all of this stuff through. And we've had some great trades in there from other traders that have really been working out. So thanks again. We'll talk to you in the next video.